They bloody should have, though, Luke. They bloody should have. Goals, bruh. Bring your pattern and your cameras to Goldsborough. You're guaranteed a return. Not much in this life is guaranteed, but goals at Hillsborough this season is guaranteed.
Oh, that's cold open.
Welcome to Different Gravy, not just another Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm one of the hosts, Richard Miller, and my co-host, I can finally unmask as the chief songwriter for the Wednesday band. Hot on the heels of his recent smash hit, Our Number 9, he spent portions of the first half penning a torch song to George Hurst called This Could Be Us, But You Playing. But he was just as glad as everyone else to rip that up for a rousing round of Hursty, what's the score? The Stephen Sondheim of S6, Dr. Luke Ledall. How are you doing today, Luke?
I'm doing well. It's miraculous I've managed to get across there and get my songwritings out to the world, and I did it all on 4 hours sleep. So
yes, good work. Just to squeeze some sympathy out of listeners, what time did the game kick off for you today?
It would be 5:30 a.m. MST.
Oh.
I don't think so. Rich and I were chatting about this. I don't think anything was covered on. I hate this whole this has its own ending, finish.
Yeah.
And it's really a dumb time that we put things on.
Yeah.
So I don't get it. Why don't you just do it at 3 p.m. then? I don't know. It's very, very, very strange. And I mean, I was really sympathizing for the Portsmouth fans who've had a real nightmare of a trip up to watch this one. So
yeah, that must have been a very early start for those folks.
But I'll try and shake off some of that lethargy to talk about Wednesday.
Yeah. Good-o.
And I guess there should be reason for celebration, hey?
This is a good day, absolutely.
Let's see how miserable we can be.
Yeah, I mean our usual sort of way of things, which we will refuse to change in spite of the playoffs, will be we'll sort of cover the midweek game, and then we'll work our way to the weekend's match. But it's been a rosy old week in the life and times of Sheffield Wednesday Football Club.
Indeed, it has.
So, do we want to just dive right into some news?
Let's do it. Breaking hoo-hoos.
They might be fleet of foot, but they're definitely fleet of wood. We moseyed on up and played. Do they call themselves the Fish Heads?
Cod Heads?
Cod Heads, that's it.
Because there's the Cod Army. They could be the fish heads and still be the Cod Army, maybe.
I think it's Grimsby, the Fish Heads. Anyway, these guys love a bit of fish, and they just want you to know about it. And we made our way. This is a game we've been waiting a long time to play. This is one of our games in hand from way back when, right?
It is. It is the in game from Way Out, or summit like that, I guess. I thought I could try and figure it out. Oh, it's no. Forgive me, everybody. Sorry, I was trying to be clever and I think Flash Score sometimes think of it. This is round 23.
Yes,
so they do. I could not find that in retrospect, but it's from a long time ago. Anyway, the game's been postponed. And this was one of the only times I could squeeze it into the calendar, which seems hilariously late in the season to be doing such.
Yeah, and it meant that it probably went from being a kind of ho-hum middle of the season game to something quite important. I mean, vitally important from Wednesday's point of view. I think the sort of game we really couldn't afford to lose, definitely, and probably had to win really to make sure we still had our fate in our hands come this weekend. And we did start off really well. We grabbed a goal very early doors. Was it 4 minutes in the first goal came?
I believe as such, yeah. I mean, so much that nothing ever really kind of got going in terms of the game.
Yeah.
It's incredibly early on in my notes as well. Yeah, third minute it was. Just looking at my notes just to remind myself. I didn't want to just kind of do like a full kind of debrief of that. We'll save that for the main meat of the episode, which is obviously today's game against Portsmouth. But one thing I really want to say from this, Rich, 2 words: cultured tenacity, and then a new name, which is Lee Gregkamp.
Oh, nice.
It was
just a lovely.
It was so wonderful. Yeah. It was such a brilliant finish and just great. Like I said, just great. Very focused determination. Brilliant ball kind of clipped in. He kind of takes it on his chest, and then, much to the protestation of the Fleetwood defenders, the main shit centre back they have. I think it was it was a gentleman wearing number 33, I recall. Seemed to really want to rip the shirt off of Gregory's back for the entirety of the time. And then they seemed to turn around in complaining that, I don't know, they didn't give away a penalty. I'm not entirely sure what the protestations were, but it was very funny sometimes to see the joy of scoring a goal, but sometimes seeing a useless set of plums at the back look around like,
And Ciala would be 33.
Was the gentleman in question who was pretty handsy with Gregory. But fantastic from Gregory to just be like, no, I'm going to keep going. And just such strength. Interesting bit on the commentary today. They were talking about the fact that Gregory was, we've known that he's, had some associations on the wrong third of Sheffield. And he was actually rejected as a right back for being too small. So he's had almost a kind of he's not quite as storied as someone as Jamie Vardy, though hilariously did actually play up top in a partnership at Halifax with Vardy, which was something I thought was interesting, which I didn't know beforehand. But yeah, rejected from a right back and said he was too small, and the grit and determination probably says a lot about his character, having a situation like that, and to reinvent himself as one of the buffest hot shit houses in the EFL.
He's. I mean, obviously, this game against Fleetwood was probably his best performance of the season for us, but also he's followed it up with another great performance, and he's really in absolutely fine fettle at the moment. I mean, he's had good games and maybe looked less dangerous in front of goal prior in the season, but he just looks like he sort of fancies himself from any range with either foot. It's really nice to watch. They're rare moments when you get a striker who's just oozing goals. It's dripping. The goal is dripping off him because it just becomes such an easy thing to do when players are in that sort of mode. I remember marveling at some of in particular Gary Medine's goal when he scored against Chesterfield last time we were back in League One, and it wasn't even that good of a shot, but it almost like his own self-belief made Tommy Lee palm it into the roof of the net, and there is that kind of
I know what you mean. I actually think I remember that goal specifically, but yes, sorry, carry on.
Yeah. But that's what I mean, it's a great time in the season for it to be happening as well. But I think that's what we're seeing from Gregory. This was just such a great turn. He felt the defender behind him. He knew he was strong enough to turn him. And the finish is glorious as well. I mean, it's not easy once he gets in there. The keeper's trying to narrow the angle. And it was just really neat.
And you would
So,
naturally think, it's a very neat goal, as you've said. The interesting thing was, from that angle, you naturally expect a striker to go to the left of the keeper.
yeah,
And, maybe we can't see it from our angle, maybe gives him a bit of eyes and just tucks it into the corner. It's brilliant.
yeah, yeah. It's great stuff. So I think probably, obviously, at 3 minutes, not much has happened in the game, but I think what there was of the game was looked fairly good for Fleetwood. They were. I don't actually know what happened to them today, but they are fighting for their lives, aren't they? They were in very much in the relegation picture. So a win for them would have been invaluable. Probably would have seen them safe.
It would, though, just to kind of cut ahead to today, they did stay up because essentially they
Right.
had a much better goal difference than Gillingham, who
Yes.
I think had taken quite a number of serious poundings in this league. So they both lost. Basically, Gillingham lost 2-0 to Rotherham, who went up in second
Right.
place. And Fleetwood, I think at one point were drawing with Bolton, but lost 4-2 away. But they still
Right.
retained League One status.
There we go.
Mm-hmm. But a
But then
team
after,
who hadn't won in quite a while showed
yeah,
quite a lot of fettle,
quite a
and
lot of bites.
then also Wednesday probably helped along that situation rather dramatically.
Oh, hugely. Well, I think this has happened a couple of times this season. So this this team has a weird, like a knife edge kind of mentality that I think a lot of the time we can look nervy and a bit kind of, I don't know, like we lack self-belief. And then that is combined with periods where we just look like we expect to turn up and for teams to just go, oh, it's Sheffield Wednesday, they're really good, so we'll just let them win. And like this is one of those games that once we got that first goal, we didn't play like a team that wanted a second goal. We played like a team that were like 6-0 up. We were sort of we were very lackadaisical, slow around the back, and just kind of, I don't know, there's tricks and flicks and things. And maybe that's just how this team expresses themselves, and that's just the way it works. But as a fan watching, you sort of just feel like you kind of, well, we've talked about so many times in this league, you sort of need to win that fight to be allowed to go be fancy Dan's. And I think this is one of those games again where we sort of forgot that we needed to go and fight, at least temporarily. I don't know if we've talked much about Keystone Cops, Luke, on this podcast. I was just thinking, when was the last time we got to speak about Keystone Cops?
It's a bit of a lovely. I mean, it's a dated reference, and the thing that it references is very dated, but then it's also dated in kind of modern times. I don't think I've heard a manager talk about Keystone Cops since Brian Laws at Wednesday.
Yeah.
So we're a good 12, 13, 14 years ago in that process. So,
but thankfully, the 2021-2022 Sheffield Wednesday team,
what is old is new again.
Exactly. They did Keystone Cops X Jordan Story, and they really changed it up. They took out a fresh take on the classic and
a gritty reboot, if you will.
A gritty reboot, or a languid spin, as happened in actual fact from Jordan Story.
Just the other week, Rich and I were at the cinema watching the reboot of Keystone Cops, thinking we don't need another Keystone Cops film. And it's like, no, David Fincher is going to direct this one. And it's going to say it's dark. It's literally going to be dark, much like the shit Batman reboot. And yeah, there we go.
And Jordan Story is going to be the Keystone Cop. So it's all changed.
Oh, that's where they got the name from. Oh, okay. Well, he was the original Keystone Cop, and then he recruited his buddies.
So Story did this under really no immediate pressure. He did such a kind of bombastic, languid pivot on the ball. I mean, this wasn't a Cruyff turn. It was a Maguire turn. We've talked about his turning circle, old Lurch, Harry Maguire. This was his sort of turning circle, but with the ball at feet. sort of the difference between a big wheel and the London Eye. This was just too big. It was too big. And he got closed down, sort of sent a player pretty much through on goal, but he was unselfishly cut back. And Hutchinson did quite well, I think, probably to get his foot on it, but it wasn't a very good clearance. And Camps, under very little pressure because Hutchinson was on the floor, sort of fired it in at the near post. And do you think it wasn't fired, it was more bobbled, wasn't it? It was a bobbly kind of effort. Do you think Bailey Peacock-Farrell should have done better?
Yes, I do. Yeah, it seemed like a very late reaction from Bailey.
It was a weird pitch, wasn't it, at Fleetwood? It's very kind of tufty, long grass. It looked like somebody's garden.
It was nasty. It was so wobbly pitch.
You see, I would have saved it, but it's such a wobbly pitch.
There we go, folks. That's the quick, very 5-second post-match interview with Bailey Peacock-Farrell. Interestingly, came out for 5 seconds, but there we go.
That's it. It's never coming back. Thanks, Bailey. Thanks for your time. And we followed that up with another not very good bit of defending, right?
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. I don't even remember. Do you recall what happened for the free kick being given in the first place?
No, I was thinking the same thing. I can't really remember. It's kind of a nothingy foul near the sideline, wasn't it? It wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good position to put a ball in, but it's not an immediately kind of dangerous position generally.
No, because usually you would defend that pretty comfortably. Like, any team organised and worth their salt that's practiced defending set pieces would deal with that quite comfortably.
You'd probably mark their top goal scorer and their only striker, wouldn't you? That's the sort of thing a team might do at a set play. But not Wednesday. Not Wednesday. Mm-hmm. We decided that Joe Garner, the tousled old vet, should be allowed to get a free header from this free kick. There was a bit of I think more talked about after the game that Byers was fouled. Byers was on the floor and claiming to have been pushed.
Yeah, because that was something I noticed from my own notes. Byers was protesting very heavily about being fouled.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you sort of feel like a ball into the middle of our box or to the penalty spot should be defended regardless. It shouldn't just be one person's job to knock that away.
There's a collective, at least, including more than one individual, to try and vie to get on the end of that ball and, head it wide, head it clear, whatever.
Yeah, and so this vitally important game that we can't afford to lose, we're now losing to a Fleetwood team that's... We're fighting for it. They want it in, and I think probably the biggest criticism you could throw at Wednesday in that first half is they looked like they wanted it more than us at times. I think this is not a group that lacks desire, but in this performance, they were a bit lackadaisical in that regard. I did make a note about one lovely chance and a kind of how on earth did we not score moment that came around the 37-minute mark.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's the one that I would have guessed you would have brought up, Rich.
I said, Bannon, fed up of watching these amateurs mess up his lovely passes, just goes it alone. A twist and turn and a chip over the keeper, but unfortunately it hits the post. Falls to Patterson, who steadies himself and wellies it goalwards, but his sweet strike is acrobatically saved by the head of Clark. And Gregory misses at the third time of asking. I think he hit the other post.
Well, I thought wonderful clip to the back post. One of those kind of beautiful, kind of pitch perfect. Is it a cross? Is it a shot? No, it's a shot. Wonderful. Has the keeper scrambling back. Bounce off the post. Falls to Patterson. From my view, I thought like he absolutely rifled it. But I thought it was going wide. I thought he'd kind of cracked it. One of those where I thought he'd hit it very cleanly, but I don't think it was very accurate. I mean, it's a tight angle to get. He's pressurized. I get that. And it was the bounce from the deflection that kind of agonizingly looped up onto the post.
Right. Yes, I thought his shot was going to hit probably close, very very close to the post, but I thought it was going to go in. But it's quite hard to tell. As we've said many times, we don't get several angles. We don't get slow mos. We just get the one static camera in one place. How have Fleetwood got Tom Clark? He's a very decent defender. I remember we were linked with him early on in Carlos's reign when he was at Preston North End. I'm amazed he's at Fleetwood. But anyway, maybe he's a local lad or something. I don't know.
He is in the ripe old age of his career at 34.
I suppose.
Interesting enough, he left Preston and went to Salford for a season.
Oh, right. Okay.
Interesting. Anyway.
Which is another level down.
But sometimes potentially a more lucrative one. Sometimes.
Well, yeah, certainly with the coffers there at Salford, they throw big money. They haven't quite figured out that there's not a huge amount of difference in many ways between a Championship or a League One player and a League Two player. So they just throw oodles of cash at somebody from a lot higher. They've got ability to play at a higher level. It's like, yeah, but they are playing at your level. So I just wrote at halftime that we looked like robots that needed to be rebooted anytime something unscripted happens, and that Fleetwood, by comparison, looked sort of young and dynamic and on it, and we just looked a bit kind of static and stodgy in the way we were playing.
I agree. The only kind of real positive was I was texting Rich on the side that the game was so bad it made me reminiscent of an old Sleepy Jackson first album song, Come to This.
Yes.
One of the main lines in the chorus is, Lord, I don't know how it's come to this. And that was and that was the only kind of positive I had, that it was just making me feel so full on that it gave me a bit of nostalgia for a very old early noughties indie song that I enjoyed a lot.
It's a nice thing to be nostalgic about. That's an album I spent a lot of time with in a certain period of my life.
Me too.
So I've got to confess, I missed a bit of a chunk of the second half because I had a bit of a day of it at work. I got in late and was sort of umming and ahhing about what to do about dinner, and then made the decision probably too late in the day that I would go at half time and get myself a Mackie D's. So I missed the first 15 minutes getting a McDonald's, basically. So, did I miss anything?
I don't think there's really much else to talk about apart from just the minute of glorified madness, really. Possibly one of the most insane minutes of football I think we will cover.
Well, just we've not really talked lineups, which is fine, but something that plays into today. So we started the match with Story at the set. So it was Palmer on the left, Story in the middle, and Hutchinson on the right. They swapped over, and Hutchinson went into the middle at half time, and that's how we started the game today. So just a bit of maybe a kind of lesson learned that it doesn't work. It works the other way around well, and doesn't work. Anyway, there we go. I noticed that we'd swapped them round. Wednesday made a double sub. Johnson and Byers off. Byers pretty peed off to be taken off, and Mendeslang and Windass on. And then, do you want to take us through the?
I don't have it on my notes, but it's something I've seen quite a bit, so I think I can kind of relay it as much as everybody else has seen it. But we get it in. I think it was Mendeslang who managed to kind of dig and kind of create and come into the box, was he? Who put the final cross in for the equaliser? Was that the case?
No. So Palmer went on the overlap from centre back and found Luongo, and Luongo played the cross for Gregory.
That was such a lovely kind of golf chip shot cross into the box, and really, all you really need at that point is someone to basically make a connection on it. And it seemed like Gregory had enough strength to be there, but maybe he was kind of interfered and kind of pushed by his man. And however he managed to do it, not as anywhere near as cultured as his first amazing goal that allowed Luke to make comparisons with Dennis Bergkamp. But he put it away, and had it in the back of the net. I remember Josh Windass running up, picking the ball up and punting it downfield because, hey, we're going for the winner. And Gregory barely celebrates in that situation. We all return back to positions. They kick off. They play it in. Gregory comes out of this like an absolute hound, chases it down, wins it, takes a few touches, gets it forward, and then from about 25 yards, just plows it into the corner.
Oh, it's such a great finish.
It's amazing. It's such a brilliant goal.
Yeah.
I found it difficult because I think Lord Hillsborough was saying, which one of these is your favourite, and had like the gifts of the free, the hat-trick goals. I'm like, well, objectively, the first one is the best goal, I think, in my opinion. Yeah. But I mean, the nature and everything that was set up, the background, the context, and it's a very good strike as well for his third hat-trick goal. The hat-trick goal itself is just wonderful. So I don't know how I feel you've got to say it's number 3.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really, outside of computer games, I don't think I've ever seen in real life a goal like that third one, where he just goes and immediately takes the ball off the guy that the ball's passed back to from the kickoff. He then charges up what's left of the field and then just blasts it home. It's incredible that it happened. So, as part of this turnaround, it's incredible how important it was, how he held his nerve. But it's just amazing. And I think we benefited from good runs supporting him as well, which opened up the shot for him. That sometimes goes unnoticed. So I think that really helped as well. But
you think Windass kind of trailing off to the left kind of really, blazes and creates that space on the right.
It stops him getting teamed up on by their defenders, doesn't it? I think that's the key thing there. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable.
It was absolutely incredible.
Again, probably the keeper should do better, but who gives a fig?
Who gives a fig, indeed. And they all look dejected. Gregory goes off to celebrate, gives it the big one in front of the away end. Sorry, in front of one of the home stands.
Yes.
We get a few young, naughty Stone Island Chavers at Fleetwood come over to protest the fact that he's celebrating in front of them.
Gregory says, I actually prefer haddock.
Don't we all? Isn't it a sad day when you go to the chippy and you ask for haddock and they don't?
It's a finer grain. It is I think it is my preference as well. But I can get my chops around a cod as well. To be fair,
it's a comfortable standard. It's a comfortable standard.
Yeah, those cod heads will do for me in a pinch. And that was pretty much that, wasn't it? I don't really remember any scary moments. I know Windass had a chance near the end that he maybe should have bagged from.
He did scuff one wide at the death. That was... You'd think a player of his standard would bag it, but then, rustiness has been out a long time, etc., etc. Yeah.
Nice to have him back. I think it was a boost to see him on the bench at the start of the game as well for everyone. If we've got an informed Gregory, a Berahino that's chomping at the bit, and a Josh Windass starting to find some form heading into these next couple of games, then that's a nice position to be in terms of those spots up top. The only one that's not really cooking with gas is Pato, isn't it? But he does what he does, and that is mainly arguing with the referee. He doesn't get fouls, and he makes friends with the referee. He's the kid at the school who breaks your heart and you say, "Oh, have you made any friends?" "Yes, one of the dinner ladies." And you're like, "Oh no, this kid's trouble." That's Patterson in many ways. So that was that really. From being down in the depths, it was a nice position to be in, and obviously, as we touched on, that it meant going into this weekend's game, we had our destiny in our own hands. It was up to us to decide whether we were playoff bound or we were going to somehow snatch mediocrity from the jaws of.
It was such a weird game because it was something we needed to win. We definitely needed to win to put ourselves in a much better kind of situation, but yeah, like it didn't feel any more of an accompliment after doing it.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, nothing was done at that stage, was it? That's the thing. I think.
Yeah, it's still very much a mathematic possibility, or not even a mathematic possibility. Like the step. What is the step before a mathematical possibility? Just a possibility.
I think. I suppose the only. Well, even that's not concrete, but one thing it potentially it gave us the potential to draw and still make the playoffs, didn't it? That's the main thing that happened with that victory, which is not the most exciting outcome at the end of the day. That's a real mumblecore indie films kind of happy ending. That you win the chance to fail but still somehow succeed in the future. That's the be all and end all of it. But anyway, we bring that mumblecore happy ending into today's game with Portsmouth.
I know. What a cinematic week we've had, Rich. I mean, we've had that reboot of Keystone Cops. We've had the mumblecore, padding out the end of the independent cinemas lineup for the week. And now we come to the big Billy Big Balls blockbuster of Sheffield Wednesday at home to Portsmouth. A bumper sellout crowd.
It felt busy today around Hillsborough. You could not move. And going to the loo was an effort. Getting oneself a
not even more so than usual, right?
Yeah.
You got to unzip your fly, take your chap out.
It was a tight squeeze before the usual tight squeeze.
So all four sides of Hillsborough had Wednesdayites in there.
Even some folks. At one weird point, there was some folks in the kind of the little corner stand as well. I don't know what they were doing there. Just lost. The groundsman said, "I can get you in. Don't worry about it. It's a sellout, but I know a spot. Nobody will notice. Don't worry."
And Rich, I do love a dated reference, much like a Keystone Cops. Can I ask you, Rich? So I couldn't really get a great handle of this from my footage. Richard Miller, was Hillsborough the old lady? Was it rocking?
Do you know this old lady was teetering and tottering, and at times absolutely rocking out, Luke.
Oh, good stuff. Excellent. That's good to hear. And so because I love seeing when we can actually squeeze some Wednesdayites on Leppings Lane. Rich and I went up there for the away day with the fateful 2-2 draw with Yeovil.
Yes.
Possibly
the faithfully unfaithful game against.
Yes, exactly. Everyone thought the sword of Damocles was over Alan Irvine's head, but apparently it wasn't. And
I've actually got a badge about swords, and I've managed to avoid many a sword in the past, and I back myself against any clandestine instrument of brutality in that way in the future. Is that Barry Bannon's dad, or is it Alan Irvine? Maybe we're one and the same.
Barry Bannon's dad's got a bit more. He's got a bit more. There's a bit more rose to his cheeks, right? Irvine's cheeks are incredibly pale and flaccid from just being battered by the winds of Caledonia for 20 years solid. Yeah,
the bloodless husk that is Alan Irvine.
Exactly. If we view the human body as a sweet corn kernel, then he is the pale, unembodied husk. I'm making it sound like he's undead.
Anyway, very much.
The away day, Rich and I got to go up there on the and witnessed a
What a treat.
Really, really terrible game of football.
Yeah, it was a
And
bad game of football. It was fun to be there.
fellow Sheffield Wednesday podcast host, Charles Koch, absolutely, absolutely really fucked up a penalty that day as well.
Oh, yeah.
Let me tell you that. And they all looked despondent because they let their mate Al down.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
anyway,
Lordy, that was something.
This was better, I was wondering whether but I guess they had other uses for it, right? I was hoping the cheese corner was going to be open.
That's where I was saying that weirdly, there was like 4 people in the cheese corner.
People in the cheese corner.
Just at the start of the game, and I was like, I think let's be here, lads. I think you need to move along.
Well, the police have said if we can have 4 people who are placid enough, then they can act as a barrier between the away fans and the home fans. Okay, makes sense. Thank you, police, for
thank you, Popo,
dealing with another great one, Popo.
But
yeah, 33,000.
33,000. But it felt like I think it's possibly testament to the fact that it's felt all season like maybe there's a few season ticket holders that aren't turning up that regularly, because we've always been around 22, 23, and then for teams that bring a lot, then it goes up a bit more. Maybe it goes up to 24 or whatever, 25. But this felt like way more than another 6,000 or 7,000 on top of a busy day. It felt like a day out at Wembley or Cardiff in the past. It was just couldn't move for shiny, happy blue and white people. So it was a nice atmosphere to be in pre-kickoff, and people just trying to get as drunk as possible ahead of noon, Mm-hmm. So we lineup wise, do we want to work through the lineup for this one?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty much the same, other than deciding to get the old shepherd's hook out and take Mr. Colump off stage and replace him with Psycho Berahino.
Psycho Berahino, swapping Scotland for Burundi.
Exactly. Did you see any? I think there have been some Wednesday fans who brought a Burundi flag.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did see some footage of someone in the away end rocking a Burundi flag, which
nice.
It's kind of fun.
I did see there was a kind of movement to have inflatables that turned into a movement to have inflatable bananas, and then there was a group of people that were like, "There's a bit of a history with this, guys, and I think probably lay off the bananas if we can, even though with the best will in the world, it's not a good look." We also happen to be the only team in the Football League, as far as I'm aware, that do not do the "we don't like racism" knee thing. So, the combination, let's keep it fun. Let's keep it light.
Sorry, I'm still laughing at the "we don't like racism" knee. That's quite funny. I think that's what it's officially called.
I think that's right, isn't it? That's the official. It's the UN. No, thank you. No racism, please. We're British. Knee.
Colin Kaepernick said, "I don't like racism. I'm gonna get on one knee to say no." That's what he said.
Yes, exactly.
Anyway,
as we dance over those particular eggshells, very very samey lineup. So we had that same back three as they came out in the second half midweek. So Stories on the right hand side, Hutch in the middle, Palmer on the left, Johnson and Hunt taking up the wing back positions. The old familiar trio of Bannon, Byers, and Massimo Luongo in the middle, and then Berahino up top with Gregory, which I think is possibly my preferred option out of the two. I really struggle with Patterson as a front man. I think I like his enthusiasm. I like the fact he is clearly just an absolute lunatic. I don't know if you saw the There was an incident towards the end of today's game where which we'll get to, where two players looked like they were almost going to come to blows, and in the midst of that, Patterson was pretending to dive and catch the ball at the feet of an opposition player, and I don't know whether that was an in joke, whether it was just something he did completely out of the blue. I don't know what it was, but that's our Pato. He's a mad lad. Anyway. We started the midweek game in pretty much the dream way. That's not how this one went, was it?
Not at all. I was going to say, just getting into this, I thought it was a very nervy start. We didn't look very sure of ourselves at all. Portsmouth looked very, very, very much up for this one. And from that opening kind of passage of play, seemingly more up for than Wednesday, which led to the third minute itself when Portsmouth, thankfully, got their only goal of the game. But it was worrying at the time. What incredibly poor defending.
It looked like a complete... I don't know whether it was a miscommunication or a misread. I've not seen it. I've not really seen it back because we don't show opposition replay, the replay of opposition goals at Hillsborough. So apologies. But what it looked like to me was Hunt sort of shouted to leave the ball because he thought it was going out. It didn't have the legs to go out, but he that's what he was trying to do, was shepherd it out. Story sort of could have seen that it was that one, there was a player too close to Hunt, and also that the ball wasn't going to go out, and could have probably come across and cleared it, but he didn't. And as a result, what happened was the left winger snuck in, passed the ball to Hurst, who was completely unmarked in our box, in the 6-yard box, in fact, and Hurst just put it home fairly simply.
Very much so. What was Hutchinson doing?
I've no idea. Yeah, he was somewhere around. I have heard. I do remember. Well, I was reminded. I should give credit where it's due. My sister Suzanne reminded me that Tom Lees talked about when Hillsborough is full and loud, it's easier to play at the away end because you can hear each other. If you're at the Kop end, you can't communicate in the way you normally would. So I wonder if there was just an immediate, overwhelming noise that they just couldn't have. They didn't have the usual lines of communication. I don't know.
Which is interesting because, there's a lot of factors that kind of lead to Wednesday obviously preferring to typically, flip the coin, and if they win the toss, they want to kick towards the Kop in the second half. So yeah, it has been noted, and it's something that I think anyone who, if you've had the pleasure of being out on the pitch, which Rich and I have, or if you've been at pitch level, or if you've even sat kind of close to the stand, you can, very close down, you can see there is a slope. It's an inclination that probably goes, I don't know, something like maybe a couple of feet, or 2 or 3 feet downwards on the slope on that incline. So that's been historically something why Wednesday. So it's interesting to hear that as another factor. And there's also the kind of rhetoric, and I think we felt this as well as Wednesdayites, of typically there are the big games and a packed Kop feels like it's trying to suck the ball in.
Yes.
It's a weird kind of metaphorical vortex.
Yes.
That feels real. Yet it's, obviously it's not, but it's a big psychological advantage. So it's interesting to hear that Tom Lees say that historically that, it's difficult to defend. And maybe that's something of a factor that kind of helps us from an attacking perspective.
Quite possibly. It's one of those, I think I'm willing to provide that little bit of understanding and maybe, allow those excuses. Possibly more so, given I know what the end result is now, and it's positive in our favour. But I do think it only excuses so much. Each one of those players is a professional who has their day job is being a defender. So I expect them all to perform better in that moment, even if they can't talk to each other in the usual way. I expect Hunt to be able to read the pace of a ball and know where the man he's marking is, so that he doesn't get caught out like that. I expect Story to, given that he's got a better picture of it all, go in and clear the ball or at least block the cross coming. And I expect Sam Hutchinson to mark the man in the middle. They only had one striker for most of this game. So between three of them, they should have been able to watch him most of the time, you'd hope.
Was that what you were saying about, is that what you think about Portsmouth's formation? Because I thought it was more of a Curtis and Hurst partnership.
I think the two wingers sometimes, they came in one at a time. So they did try and have a second person. But I thought Hurst was pretty lonely most of the time up top on his own.
Right, so a kind of a front three, but an isolated one when it goes to, goes on defense. Yeah, okay. Interesting. I thought
Curtis number 10?
Curtis is number 11, I think.
Oh, I liked Curtis, yeah.
I like Curtis as well. I thought he was a very good player. I don't like his name. It kind of oddly reminds me of Ronan Keating. But other than that, I thought he was really good. Mind you, Flashscore is reckoning it's a 4-4-2 with Jacobs up top, who I think was replaced. Was he replaced by O'Brien?
Possibly. I'm trying to think.
He was. Yeah, that was the case. But I don't really remember much of him as a player at all. I remember seeing a lot of Curtis. I thought he was, and Hurst, as much as I really don't want to talk about him in any great detail other than his goal today. He looked quite useful.
You thought Hurst looked useful?
Relatively so, yeah.
I wasn't impressed. He took his goal well. I think he had two other good chances where he absolutely fluffed his lines. I don't know. I just didn't think we've been blessed with some good number nines, and they played the game in a different way. I'm thinking sort of Fletcher and Hooper and Uyu to an extent. He's a long way off. I just didn't think he did anything. I don't think he was available for his teammates most of the time. I don't think he competed particularly well in the air.
I mean, something seems to be more working for him now than it has historically, because I mean, he's
getting some goals.
Yeah, he's bagged I swear he's bagged 14 goals this season.
I think he's right up, to be fair. Yeah.
So something seems to, I mean, it didn't work for him at all at Rotherham. We've looked on with some kind of interest to see if if it was another, something we mishandled or missed out on or whatever happened with the dealing of that.
I suppose what I'm thinking is, and he didn't go anywhere with his career. Well, he had a perfectly fine career as a league footballer, but he never went to the echelon. So if we're talking about someone who supposedly is going to be spoken in the same breath of it as his father potentially,
he's 23 now.
Looking at a similar prospect, similar sort of player, similar sort of age. We just mentioned earlier Gary Medine. I just think he was a far more accomplished footballer at that age and that time than George Hurst looks to me.
That's fair. I think maybe there is a sign of him maybe kind of getting it together, but I do agree with you to the fact that, yeah, it's not looking like he's prem, England call-up material,
Which is fine.
Well, no, it is totally fine. Most people aren't. I know. And but some of the hype and history and the genealogy around Hurst Jr. George Horse. That's funny. I've created this new really unimaginative kids puppet. What's it called? George Horse. Sounds like I made it up in the spot. I'm looking around for inspiration. Yeah. But yeah, I don't think he's gonna be. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think he's gonna be any great shakes at that level. But certainly, looks like he's gonna carve a career as a decent.
He'll be fine.
Third, second tier striker.
He looks like he'll probably bus about between League One and Championship. He'll be a bit too good, or quite good in League One, and not quite good enough for the Championship. And that will probably be his trajectory, unless something changes. I mean, we've seen some players turn things around this season in a way. It's not the end of our season, thankfully, but I was sort of looking and thinking how many assumptions early on in this season have proven wrong, and most of them in a positive way. Johnson's just become such an incredible player for us. Georgie Byers has been wonderful this second half of the season. Berahino's looks like a real player. And on the other side, we've barely seen anything of Alan Irvine, who looked like he was going to probably be the star of the show early doors. Anyway, so that's I digress. So the worst possible start, really. That's sort of every Wednesdayite's nightmare scenario, is that we come out looking terrified and almost immediately concede a goal, and George Hurst scores it. That's almost everybody's waking nightmare over this past week. That immediately happens.
How do you decide who wins when? It's a big jackpot shared with a lot of people when waking nightmare bingo is hit for every Wednesdayite in the ground. Yeah. They're like, well, it was £100,000 in the kitty, but you're all gonna basically win. You're all gonna win about £3.50, basically. I think.
It's the start of Scream where you're like, oh, Drew Barrymore's in it, and just she doesn't even make the credits. She doesn't even make the credits.
There you go. Oh, Drew Barrymore.
Spoiler alert!
Was
for a film
in
that's
it.
like 30 years old. Yeah. But we thankfully we did pick ourselves up and start to actually take an active role in this football match, which is good.
Yeah, things start to kind of pick up in terms of notes. I can do most of the driving for the moments here, Rich.
Yeah, you can do. Yeah,
notes.
thank you.
Were there, busy lapping it all up, having a party, getting some inflatables and getting the old lady Hillsborough rocking. We got a corner on the 8th minute.
100 inflatable bananas. Forget the consequences. There you go.
You were tying together like bushels, weren't you? Bushels of inflatable bananas.
I was.
8th minute, we get a corner. Not much to it. We do a short corner routine by Bannon. That doesn't come to anything. We'll get on to short corners because I think that was very typically, I know, like I remember from our chats recently, we talked about,
yes.
I do share a dislike for short corners. Suddenly become
generally
a bit impatient, a bit impatient. North Stand man, Garrett forward. Just get it in box, basically.
Get it in box. Yes, I tend to agree.
Just maybe tempted to shamefully shout, "Put it in the mixer."
Just quickly, there was. What did you make of the? I think before their goal even. There was it looked a very clear push on Gregory in the box. Did you make anything of that?
I didn't actually have that on my notes at all.
It just looked like a full-on
I thought it was later on
arm's length.
Gregory was fouled and nothing was given. So
he was. It wasn't the only time that happened. It was that was an incident that reoccurred. It was one of the themes of the afternoon.
Yeah, it is a recurring theme of Wednesday that we barely get any change out the referee for, our strikers getting slapped, tickled, and assaulted in numerous ways up in the final third of the pitch. 10th minute, Robinson of Portsmouth does a horrendously terrible back pass, and we almost take advantage from Berahino. So we're starting to get a bit vibrant. We're starting to get the bit between our teeth here. 14th minute, Berahino does well to get a corner from a through ball. Led to a flurry of half chances. It felt like almost something was going to kind of drop in that space. And then
that was the first real bit of quality, wasn't it? Bannon's little flick over the top. And Berahino did really well to win a corner from it because it was a bit of a hiding to nothing.
Very much so, yeah. And then that kind of leads us to... that leads us on to the 16th minute. And it's Gregory, who did excellent to collect the ball from a very, very, very good Berahino takedown, I must say. That was a very cultured piece of football from Psycho Berahino. He pinged it out to Johnson. Johnson brought it forward. looks like he was. I wasn't entirely sure what he was trying to do. Do you think that was a cross or do you think that was a shot?
He absolutely fizzed it. Either way, he really fizzed it in, didn't
He
he?
really mullered it. Yeah, he really put his foot through it.
Yeah.
But anyway, he struck it very hard and low across the floor, and Gregory just a wonderful kind of interception deflection
Amazing. Yeah.
to tuck it into the corner.
Just gorgeous. I mean, there's such lovely play. I want to give the benefit of the doubt and say it was a cross. I think Johnson does like to the infamous. We've already talked. If we're using sort of hoary old cliches, we've done Keystone Cops. The corridor of uncertainty, I think, is where Marvin Johnson really likes to deliver those balls. Is in that corridor of uncertainty. I mean, who doesn't like delivering their balls to the corridor of uncertainty? But Marvin Johnson really relishes the challenge there, because he quite often draws a save out of the keeper with his crosses. So I think he is kind of he's playing on that knife edge of, is this a shot that will sneak in at the far post, or is this a cross that I want a striker to get on the end of? But
Yeah,
Gregory is in such fine form that he just made a very difficult chance look super easy, like it was nothing. Great stuff.
brilliant. The only thing that disappoints me, Rich, is before the beginning of the season, I said that we would sign a number 9 who would get us 15 goals this season. And now he's proving me wrong because he's got 16 goals this season.
Hey!
He got 15 with his hat-trick midweek, took him from 12 to 15. This takes him to 16. I guess there's an interesting thing that you mentioned about Johnson kind of, plowing it into that corridor of uncertainty. Like... Oh, I just got the innuendo there, so that was fun. It was a nice little aftertaste treat for us all there, including maybe me, and feeling a bit smug with that one. You get the impression you feel the opposition defenders are kind of very apprehensive at such a ball. There's a general feeling of like, if Gregory's not the one to deflect that in, it could be a hapless, gormless Pompey defender.
In real time, I thought it was an own goal. I've got to admit, I thought it. And then they didn't show it on this. I don't know what was going on with the AV stuff today, but they didn't show replays at all, I don't think, of the goals. So I thought, oh wow, so if given it to Gregory, maybe he was offside. But no, it was a perfectly good goal. He was completely onside. It was a great finish. I don't know why we weren't allowed to ever see it again. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's Sky's fault. I don't know. Let's blame Sky. Boo hiss.
Boo hiss. What's point of big telly if we can't watch?
What's point of big telly if you can't watch highlights on it?
Exactly. Exactamundo. 1-1. We're back in it.
1-1.
The thing that I didn't think... It's just so... I'm still... Just knowing this Wednesday team and how much of a season we've seen before we started getting to the point of going behind and coming back from behind.
I know, we love
the hallmarks and history of kind of last season and just having an incredibly poor record of this. It still worries me. So it just made me think there was still a lot of the game to be played. And I remember feeling like there's a lot of the games we played, and also the factor that there's, it looked like a very sunny, beautiful day in Essex.
It was.
And bumper crowd. Usually ends up quite well on last day of the season for Wednesday. We like this late April, early May weather.
We do.
For the Owls.
The old lady loves the sunshine.
She does. She's got a solar-powered rocker. 21st minute, Byers does so well to get forward and touch it around a Pompey midfielder. His through ball into the box is a bit too heavy, though. 22nd minute, great cross to Gregory, who does one of those I've been shot headers. But to be fair, it was a little bit difficult. Weirdly given offside for no reason whatsoever.
I know.
That was the strangest decision. There were a number of questionable decisions. I mean, thankfully, we didn't have to defeat the referee today. But,
the referee was never asked to make a big decision today, which really helped because he got so many things wrong or was busy when he didn't need to be, and kind of another kind of baffling, inconsistent refereeing performance. But that seems to be par for the course. I thought Byers, actually, I thought his pass was pretty good. I thought Berahino maybe didn't quite go for it with the vigor he could have, but fair enough. Byers was having a good game though. He was busy. He's everywhere again.
Indeed, he was. 24th minute, Bannon pings one long on very short notice on the halfway line. Perfect for Gregory to take a touch and thunder a half volley on the angle. I believe it's is it Gavin Basunu, who's the name of the
yes,
the Portsmouth keeper. I think they've got him on loan from Chelsea. Is that correct? I think
Man City.
Supposedly
he is a hot property. Like lots of Premier League teams are looking at him this summer. Apparently, he's a Republic of Ireland international, and he's at City. I think he would get in the squad sometimes when we were looking at it and saying like, how come Westwood isn't getting it?
Interesting.
We'd sort of say why is this 17-year-old getting in? But supposedly he's a big deal. But it wasn't impressed with him either today.
I thought largely he was okay. I mean, actually, the interesting thing about that one was it was a very kind of knee-jerk reaction. I thought he was fortunate. I thought like I don't think he was alive to it. I don't think his reactions were there. I think it was more of a question of him being in the right space at the right time. I think there was a number of shots which were kind of directly down his throat.
Yeah.
Which maybe says a lot about our shooting prowess today and Sheffield Wednesday that, hey, we scored 4 goals, but we had a good few number of decent chances else. They called it a good save on the commentary from that one. I said he looked a touch fortunate, looked like a startled knee-jerk frog.
But it was a stunning strike. Gregory he's feeling himself right now. It's clear as day. Yeah. And like this was it's the sort of finish, if he'd scored it, it's the sort of thing that we've been watching Ronaldo do for years and years. Just a perfect first touch and then a vicious volley that asks the question of the keeper. But whether it looked good or intentional or not, he did manage to save it, which is to his credit. But great effort from Gregory. And there was one in the second half which was kind of a mirror image in some ways, although he went with a very different type of finish for it. But just clear to see he's just thinking, just get a shot away because you're doing a good job right now.
Put the house on Gregory. Put the farm on Gregory.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Are we circling the second yet, or where are we?
Almost 28th minute. That's the moment I think I've commented on earlier. Gregory was fouled very clearly, but nothing was given. Right. That was also not a.
Was that the one where he was kind of like tossed over his?
He was kind of hauled over, and there was a bit of arm thwacking. It was a little bit UFC. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. It looked like a judo throw.
Yeah. 30th minute, Bannon hit one goalwards from Palmer's cutback and Bazzuno again with his frog heroics. 34th minute, this brings us into the goal. No idea how he won the corner there. So in the preamble to this, Gregory did amazing to keep the ball in. I actually thought it went out because it actually ran off towards the cheese corner kind of end.
Okay.
I'm pretty certain it went out, to be honest with you.
Okay.
The linesman didn't seem to bat an eyelash of that. He kept it in, cycled it back, and then Byers almost hands off a player. And actually, I could probably see, I've not gone and checked Danny Cowley's post-match thoughts on this, but I'm fairly certain that it wasn't a corner. I think it came back off Byers. Okay. I think at one point it was Byers cannoned it off the guy, and I was like, oh, it's going wide. It's like, then Byers touched it wide. So,
my initial thought was, oh, he's been unlucky, and then I was surprised we got the corner. But I was told by people around me that he was off the pitch when it hit him, but I don't know.
Yeah, from my angle, I don't know. My angle,
you would have a better angle than us.
I know.
But yeah,
got that lovely little Doctor Strange like portal into Hillsborough. I'll look on things. The resulting corner is a glorious mess, but we score. So Bannon kind of hit. I think he kind of did a bit of short corner fuckery, as I've put it here. And then it kind of came. It was a very ballooned cross back into the mixer, back into the box, wasn't it? And I had to watch this one numerous times over. I do enjoy Vancouver Owls, who's always a fun follow for checking on because he nocturnally records the highlights of the games. Nice. But thank you, appreciate it. Yeah. And the good thing is bringing a Twitter goal, because I don't get any. I get to see it once, I get to see it again. I don't get to see it back on half time unless I want to screw back in the game on the timeline. So I just brought it up and it just played it on loop because I got to watch it in a very JFK-like fashion. This one. So because I was wondering whether the first header, I wasn't sure who it was. I think Gregory was going for it, but Gregory missed it. I think there's another player in the middle. I think I want to say it's Luongo. But he doesn't get a header. It bounces off the head of a Portsmouth player. And then that kind of loops back for Story. Story is kind of diving backwards.
The Portsmouth...
Sorry, carry on, please do.
Yeah. Well, no, the Portsmouth player headed it back towards his own goal, bizarrely, didn't he?
It was like a cross towards the left, because that's where...
Yeah.
But not a good defensive header, because that's not keeping it alive. It is keeping it alive. Sorry, it's not kind of...
it's not killing it.
You're not heading away. You're not heading it behind. Yeah. You're just keeping the chance alive for the opposition. Yeah. And that's where, it was like a falling knockback from Story, and he was kind of, it looks like he was kind of taken down in not by a way of a foul, but just actually going for the ball by the defender he was there. So it kind of comes in, and then basically Berahino does really well, takes a touch, it comes off his chest. I think they were protesting very heavily about a handball, and I'm curious if Cowley's going to come out with something about that. Anyway, Berahino does so wonderful to take a little touch, does little touch, and there's just the patience to wait just for that moment, for that little corridor, just in between the three players he has around him, and including Jordan Story, who's on the deck at this point.
Yeah.
And just rolls it into the corner.
The other thing
I was going to say with the handball is one of my notes. One Pompey player was viciously tapping his right forearm, presumably for some strange call of handball on Berahino, and not maybe vehemently remonstrating the referee how many syllables it is.
Sounds like sandball. But no, I think we've been treated to... Clearly, Berahino is a long way from the £15 million man that we keep getting. Every time we're on Sky, they talk about. But we've had some moments that really show what a special player he was, has been, still is in some ways. And I think that we talked about his sort of turns and shots being something that's kind of next level. And I think that coolness in that moment, that was kind of like keeping your head whilst everybody around you's losing it, is a real show of a quality player in those situations. And that was great. Nobody else in the ground would have scored that goal. Nobody else on the pitch would have scored that goal other than Berahino. Mm-hmm. Because he did take that moment to settle himself and finish it off. And well done to him. Well, another one that's completely surprised us the second half of this season, and more power to him. What's next, incident-wise, Luke? What happened?
What's next? Oh wow! So there's a lot of us. The sleeping giant is awake, and again the old lady rocking, and the players are just absolutely going for it.
Tails are up.
Tails are up. That's a much better way of saying it. Thank you, Rich. 38th minute, Bannon takes the ball of a wonderful virtuoso, a little bit of winning the ball from Luongo. Did some great kind of juggling and just brilliant tenacity. Puts it across and it's put behind. The resulting corner goes out to Byers, who brings it to the byline after a lovely touch of his hapless defender. Takes it past his defender. He fizzes
Yeah.
it on the floor for a flat-footed story to just ping it off his gangly frame, inclusive of his humongous feet. Lovely
It was
3-1.
great.
Actually, and then this is the funny thing, I did a bit of knocking of Jordan's story in that initial bit of commentary in my notes, and I went back and watched it, and I said, actually, as additions I know, I went back and as I said, again, shout out to Vancouver Owls for putting the goals up.
Yeah.
So I went back and watched the 3-1 again on loop. And one thing I really enjoyed doing was I got to see a lot more of Byers' guile to have the ball on the on the byline and all that he did to kind of set up the chance. And I must say, like we talked about, I talked earlier in the podcast about Gregory being brought up as a right back and changing positions. Do you wonder if Jordan's story maybe somewhere, as a joke, maybe he plays a striker in his toddler years? Because I can't say the man's any younger than he actually is anyway, and he looks like a gangly boy anyway.
Yes,
But
yes.
just wonderful positioning from him, and just brilliant anticipation that he does in the goal. You can see him kind of ghost in, and he just kind of, just shows a commitment and the movement to get in the right place for it.
He does. I think actually he doesn't have for a defender. I don't think he's got a bad record at all in terms of goal scoring. I think he is someone who, yes, I don't know what his background is, but he certainly he scored volleys for Preston. He's obviously scores headers because he's a defender and that's what they tend to do. But he's also his 2 goals for us have been, one of them was they've both been tap-ins basically, haven't they? When he's kind of been in a situation, been alive, and the ball's ended up with him, and he's done his job. So yeah, fair play to him. I love the run from Byers. He's this is like a new kink to his game again, where he's suddenly a dribbler now. He runs past people. I don't think we've seen that at all from him. And the last 2 games, he's just sort of started drifting through tackles somehow. I don't. It's lovely to see. And yeah, busy in all the best ways. What a great time to score that 3rd goal as well. I think that sort of wrapped up the game. I know we went on and got another, which is fantastic. But I think getting that one just before half time, it banishes nerves and just makes the whole thing so much. I mean, any time to score obviously is nice, but I actually thought when we had the set piece, this would be a great time to grab another if we were going to, because I think it shuts them up till half time. It means they've probably got to come out and be a bit, maybe overextend themselves in the second half, and that means that we'll get chances on the break. So it just it's so important. It makes so much of a difference. The difference between 2-1 and 3-1 at that stage is huge. So yeah, well done to the team for seizing the moment.
And I've not really got much else apart from if I was a Pompey fan, I think I'd be annoyed that at the 40th minute, Gregory absolutely killed momentum for seemingly a head injury, but so the ref stopped the game for that, and then he just basically just gave it a bit of a rub, and then he was fine.
See this again, whether. I actually think it was a bad. I think that should have been a yellow card. I think the player's gone to do Gregory. He made absolutely zero attempt to win the ball, but the ref missed that. Gregory, as you say, goes down, holds his head. I'm sorry to sound like a broken record. Aren't there supposed to be protocols for that? It's not the player's decision.
Yes.
If he gets checked out or not, he gets checked out. You can't rely on a player. Oh, did you hurt your head or not? You can see he's holding his head. That's why the game got stopped. He needs to get checked. He needs to have whatever this brilliant check they do, where they look at their face for 5 seconds and they know whether they're concussed or not. I mean, I've got my doubts about it. But if we're going through this facade of there's a protocol that looks after people because we care about concussions and CTE, we might as well do it properly.
Yeah.
Daft that nobody came on to look at Gregory in that situation. Daft. Absolutely crazy. I mean, I was glad he was there. I was glad he was able to defend the drop ball because they were looking to just immediately whip that into the box and effectively make it a set piece. But this is all about protecting players from themselves. The players want to go out and play, but if they're concussed, they shouldn't be allowed to.
I completely agree.
That's me.
Yeah.
I will step down off my soapbox now and let us get on with the game.
And that's pretty much about it. Bannon tried a very cheeky chip to finish off the half in the just in the bit of stoppage time, which didn't come off. Half time. Half time. This is very, very favourable. I said that'll do. It felt weird to be put in to be there in such a kind of situation that like this was. And I mean, interestingly enough, to kind of look elsewhere in the league, it was worrying to look and to think about going into this final situation, this final game. However, the only thing that seemed to be a thing that really kind of helped Wednesday was MK Dons giving a pretty hearty first half pumping of Plymouth. That really meant that it was fine whatever we did, effectively. Not that the players would know it. Obviously, the players are professional and wanted to go out and play and be, have a decent end to the season, take them into pre-season. But a nice, comforting bit of knowledge.
The much lauded Schumacher managed to take Plymouth from, first by 8 points at one point to outside of the playoffs. So he's another great manager.
Are you annoyed, upset about that? Thanks to some comments in the media he's made previously.
They were trying to make him some sort of wunderkind of managerial realms, and all he really did was sort of come in on the coattails of Ryan Lowe and not do quite as well. But anyway, there we go. It's not a bitterness really. It's just a kind of. It's worth noting in passing that was a pretty terrible job he did in general. Anyway, so second half, it's still gloriously sunny.
It's still gloriously sunny. I'm loving hearing just on this recording. Rich has got some bird song behind him. All is right in the world. Wednesday have won. Rich is almost in like something of. Was it Song of the South? Is that what it's called?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's
the Disney film that didn't make it to Disney Plus.
Yes, because it's a bit racist. Yeah,
just a bit.
Yeah, so potentially racist Disney films aside. Anyway, we feel like we're one with cartoon nature, which is always lovely. 52nd minute. There was a free kick looped in from Pompey. Bailey was obstructed, but it drifted over.
Mm-hmm.
The other end as well, we then kind of matched that on the 53rd minute with a free kick outside the box from Byers being fouled. We tried a short free kick, which was very poorly executed. I must say. It seemed to be a bit of speed on a pass, which Bannon wasn't looking for. So that kind of overtook him in the moment, I must say.
Yeah, that wasn't a great effort. Again, a pretty blatant, cynical, by the book professional foul, not given a yellow card by the referee. He was very kind to those Pompey defenders. He really let them he protected them anytime that naughty Gregory tried to touch them, in response to getting absolutely manhandled. It was always a foul in their favour, and when they did step on the egregious line of things and foul, they were never really punished for it. So yeah, nice. The ref was a nice Pompey fan and did his job beautifully. But yeah, that's short free kick routine just was a bit messy. Didn't come off.
There's a few kind of pithy, kind of half-chance moments. I think 56th minute, I'm going to focus on this one, skip over one from Hurst, which I thought he was offside, which was weird. But apparently he wasn't, and then he got a corner out of it. It didn't come to anything. 56th minute, Johnson pulls it back, and Byers hit one's goalward, and Basuno does a good stop with his feet.
Yes, that was a nicely made chance. Well hit shot, and a good save by Basuno, to be fair.
definitely.
Having said I wasn't that impressed with him, he did get some good saves. He also let in 4 goals, and his kicking wasn't great.
I agree
I
with you,
suppose
Richard.
I'm looking at him in comparison to our own Bailey here. You know, we've had a whole season of watching young Bailey, and I think they're similar kind of ages. I think they've had similar trajectories in life.
They're both two, looking over those the Irish borders. Northern Ireland
Yes,
international keeper, Irish international keeper, both young, promising,
they've
on loan from a Premier League club.
they both kissed that beautiful Blarney Stone, and they love a Guinness, and I think I'm just sort of comparing and contrasting, and I think I really do marvel at how good Bailey Peacock Farrell is with the ball at his feet more often than not. It's pretty special. I know he's made some mistakes, and he did have a bit of a scary moment in the second half as well, which maybe we'll get to. But I'm comparing similar prospects and just thinking I'm glad we've got Bailey Peacock Farrell, really.
Portsmouth made a sub. That's where they brought in O'Brien. O'Brien, nearly bagged with his first touch, and
He looked decent. I was a bit worried when he came on. I thought they then went to a more traditional 2 up top at that point. And we didn't quite know what to do with O'Brien for a while.
Yeah.
He caused us a few headaches.
I was going to say, 64th minute, O'Brien exceptionally close for Portsmouth. The weirdly named Ronan Curtis strokes one in for the on-rushing O'Brien, who with his first touch just plonks it into the side netting. But it was very decisive, very quick, very powerful hit.
Yeah, it was close.
First time. It would have been impressive had it gone the other side of the post and maybe gave old Bailey something to think about.
Something to ponder.
But guess what, Rich? Next minute, we're asking the questions.
Yeah.
Have that.
That's how do you like that?
Oh my word. Nearly goal 17 for Gregory. Hutch did a brilliant long play. Just pinged it beautifully long for the on-rushing Gregory. Took it down on the angle and almost lobbed the keeper. It was just the wrong side of the bar.
It's so close. It was beautiful.
Wonderful.
It was so beautiful.
Just a man just full of pomp and confidence. Yeah.
He's so confident and so kind of has such self-belief at this point in time that I still, when I saw it hit the roof of the net, I still kind of believed it had got in somehow. Like I was persuaded by his self-belief. I was bowled over and just like, yeah, but it was a goal though, wasn't it? Oh. But alas, it hit the roof of the net. That confidence trickster Lee Gregory didn't hoodwink the referee in the same way that he stole my heart.
As we see a wonderful, bit of nigh assisting from Hutchinson. Hutchinson comes into a bit of heroics at the back as well. So they went on the break. It was a bit of a worrying 2-on-2. Hutch kind of managed to shepherd Thompson out and did a very, very important challenge, which he got exceptionally right on the edge of the box on Thompson.
He did. I think helped by the fact that there was good cover from Palmer. I think Palmer did a nice job in behind him that let Hutch commit and know that we weren't completely bereft if he missed. But again, that was O'Brien. I think that was down to O'Brien's influence, that chance, because we were worried about him. So we were putting like 2-3 men on him. And in the case of that break, he was able to find a teammate, and the teammate rushed in to get one of the gaps that was left. But thankfully we did manage it really well. It was a great tackle from Hutch, and some good, as I say, some good backup from his boy Palms.
75th minute, brilliant save by BPF from a corner. It's whipped in and a very long looping header, brings a lot out of Peacock Farrell. Touch onto the post.
That was,
and then the follow up put wide by George Hurst.
Yeah, he had really, when you see where his starting position and where he saved that ball, he had no right to save that. That was an incredible save. He sort of had to claw it back from behind him. It was, well done, Bailey Peacock-Farrell on that front. He couple of times saved our bacon, and maybe that's the next thing you're going to talk about is another time he came to the rescue.
I feel like sometimes you and I, Rich, we have to apologize for some things that we make comments of in notes, and then it kind of comes back and really bites. It almost looks like it's going to bite us on the behind. Because I said in between the 75th minute and the 78th minute, which is something I'll come on to, I said the club should put footage of us Wednesday stroking around the back at 3-1 up. Would kindly put me to sleep with the knowledge of things being right in the world. And then, as soon as I finished that note, Peacock-Farrell was going to action as he stopped from a Hurst strike.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good save.
I don't know what went wrong communications-wise, that he was just given so much time and space, Hurst. But yeah, he turned, got a shot away, and a great save with his body by Bailey Peacock-Farrell. Thank goodness. One of those two moments, goes the other way. It's a very different last 10 minutes or so.
We've got another little kind of mini horror show to talk about. There is, I think, possibly, maybe. I really hope this isn't something that's going to mar the end of this season or whatever happens from now on. 80th minute. So I initially thought it was Windass who was down and looked in huge pain. And I was wondering, that's not the best sight to see, but, in a weird way, thinking about Windass, thinking, maybe it's just not something we can rely on. Then I was really, really dismayed to see that it was actually Bannon and not Windass.
It was Bannon, yeah. It was a long busting. He'd gone on a long busting run from the edge of his own box, hadn't he? And then managed to get a through ball pass away, and then just collapsed in a heap and looked very unhappy as well. I was really worried. I think there was a couple of people near me sort of said, "Oh, it just looks like cramp or something." So maybe, but he was holding his hamstring.
Everybody has said that's the thing. It looks like he's holding his hamstring. I mean, a player like him, it's exceptionally rare for him to have a kind of leg injury of that type of thing, right?
He's incredibly fit. He, it's staggering really how few games he's missed in his time at Wednesday through injury.
We forgot to call out that Mr. Barry Bannon won the EFL goal of the season, didn't he?
Yes.
And he also made the League One team of the season.
Made the team of the season. Yeah. No, well done. Well done to Barry Bannon. So what I will say to hopefully salve your worries, Luke.
Please do.
Is I don't know how. I've been how many years I've been going along to see Sheffield Wednesday, but somehow the end of season it's not always a lap of honour, but the players going on a wander around the pitch and getting clapped round and having their family with them, etc. That always seems to appear to be a complete afterthought by Wednesday and a haphazard. Is this happening? Is it not happening? Is something happening? Is it not happening? When's it happening? Is it? And almost just invariably, that what they managed to let happen is half the crowd just drift out thinking, oh, well, they must not be doing anything. This time was a bit better in that the players all stayed on the pitch.
Yes, I saw that, yeah. That's when my footage left for the day.
Yeah.
So
they stayed on the pitch, and then the kind of children and wives and other assorted kinfolk came and joined them from the crowd. So, it's always a nice thing, and you're nice to see, oh, such and such has 7 children. That's interesting. But Bannon was walking free. So he's got a fiance and a young daughter, and he was walking freely all the way around the pitch. He was not limping. He was not labouring his leg at all, and he was also sort of picking up his little girl and several times. So I don't want to say Dr. Rich does not want to give him a clean bill of health based on that particular examination. But doing some diagnosing from afar, I sort of feel like he probably wouldn't have been picking up his little girl and putting her on his shoulders and stuff if he had a hamstring injury. So hopefully it's just something with a bit of tiredness and fatigue. He just sort of felt a bit of cramp or a bit of something, and it's nothing too bad. So yeah, fingers crossed.
Here's hoping. We haven't really talked much about. I mean, it's nice to do a coverage of a game and not really talk about substitutions because we didn't need to. The sun was out, we're enjoying ourselves. And then obviously, so he came off. Windass had come on at this point for Berahino at the 76-minute mark. This point, Barry Bannon exited the game to be replaced by Callum Patterson, and then the 84th minute. Patterson took a really good crack from distance.
He did.
Bazzuno touched it over. And then I believe, was the corner taken by Joshua Windass?
It was. It was a reblonding. Maybe getting ready for a bleached playoff final like his dear old Dar. But yeah, a sandy blonde Joshua Windass, Trumpy Bum himself, took the corner.
And just swung it in so easily into the mixer. And with nobody marking there, Byers, all he needs to do is just get a little glance on it. And there he is to just steer it into the backstick. Wonderful.
Sweet header.
4-1. No, Georgie Byers, we salute you, sir.
I actually did do a little salute.
Did you?
I don't know if you noticed.
I love that, Rich. I love that, Rich, because I was going to say it was such a gloriously wank celebration, but I really like it now. I really like it. I love it. I love it when he does it.
It's good now.
Now it's good. Yeah.
Oh, it was I mean, it's just it's a headed goal from a corner, but it was a really nice one.
Very much so, yeah.
Oh, it's lovely. I mean, I would like to watch it back and see where Bazzuno is, because I don't think you should be getting beat there, really, on your line. But that doesn't take away from great corner, great finish. What lovely stuff. We're the best, Luke, at corners. We all know this. And we've got another 2 goals.
Another 2 goals from corners. I know.
We're the best around. Never gonna keep our corners out. We're the best around.
Parody, Laws, parody. I completely missed that.
Do you know? Sorry, I was scrolling. Yeah. I was scrolling back through. It's just this is apropos of nothing. A complete needless digression. Apologies ahead of time. But I had cause to scroll through previous episodes on Spotify, and I think there's more. There's at least one, maybe more than one, that has like a little COVID warning on it. So I can't remember what we talked about, but at some point we've been spreading some misinformation about COVID. Like our fellow Spotify podcasters, podcaster Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
we've been spreading some fake news about COVID.
Do you ever just completely create fictitious memories and think, do you remember that time, Rich, me and you were smoking cigars and we proclaimed that massive for pussies? Oh no, wait, that was Joe Rogan and Bill Burr. Okay, sorry, forgive me. Or specifically Joe Rogan. Bill Burr was like
yeah.
Just a couple of little bits. I want to say it was a nice mini moment of Hurst trying to ping one off of Hutch, and he loses out massively. That was fun. And then he kicks it forward. And did you see what the mini spat between Byers and Morrill was about?
No, I was wondering if you might have been able to furnish me with some extra information on that front. I was
too busy making a note about the hilarity of George Hurst trying to be a mini pantomime villain shithouse and being terrible at it. So that was enough amusement for me, and then I put my phone down to see a bit of very, very aggro fisticuffs.
It looked very aggro, didn't it?
Yeah.
And we got the classic referee and linesman didn't see anything, so he gives 2 yellow cards, one to each player.
Yeah, it's like whatever.
I didn't see it, but you're both very angry, so I'm just going to give you both a yellow card just in case. Yeah, it's. I was expecting a really horrific tackle to go in from one or other of them after that, just given that they had that little heated spat. He's another one that looked an all right player, I've got to say. Just kind of
moral,
pulling the strings at the back. The standout was 11. He looked strong and quick and kind of had a bit of a guile about him. But yeah, intriguing. Any more incidents before the end? I'm blanking.
Oh, just the last bit. Bailey poorly cleared to Hurst, who puts one in. It's spooned wide by some Pompey men, and that was all she wrote, folks. There we go.
All she wrote.
Comfortable 3 points, and let's just have a quick little. Sorry, Karen.
No, I think we're probably headed in the same direction. We've got the Mackhams in the playoffs.
Yeah, so we end up in 4th place, a point above those Mackhams. I just want to take a little second here, just because it's fun to look at, to think about how many goals we've scored. We've had a real spate in the last kind of quarter or so of the season of really banging some goals in. So now we're on 78 goals, conceded 50, a goal difference of 28. I find it sad, both hilarious. I mean, we lament Steven Schumacher and his wunderkind coaching career that Plymouth have missed out by 3 points, and presumably also a bit of goal difference in the process as well. But also, I think I've mentioned this previously, Oxford United, who've just fallen out of the playoff picture, and a team who've given us a bit of a whipping on 2 occasions. Top goal scorers in this league on 82 goals.
Wow.
And they've missed out on 76 points, which maybe some years gets you in top 6 on 76. That's a decent output. Wickham managed to sneak in, so they're in 6th place. MK Dons, despite Scott Twine scoring 4 in a 5-0 victory away at Plymouth, which is astonishing. They're in 3rd place, so it's MK Dons, Wickham, and then us against those Mackhams in 2 legs. And I think I believe it's Friday and Monday.
Friday and Monday, yes. And we're home in the second of those 2 on Monday. It's intriguing, isn't it? Looking at the other teams in the playoffs. So Sunderland, at the time, a real rare hatful of goals for Wednesday. We beat them 5-0 at Hillsborough. And then went to the Stadium of Light and got battered 6-0. So it's really hard to know what's coming in that one.
I know it's weird to look at the teams and think, who do you really want? I mean, it's such a strong top 6. We can look and think we've got 6 points off of MK Dons, but they're certainly no mugs. Developing a weird thing around playing Wickham, just that they've been a bunch of dutty shithouses that we can't seem to beat. And then Sunderland, weird kind of pasting at their place, and then a comfortable victory over them at home as well. So I don't think there's anyone ideal to pick effectively.
No, but I do think Wickham are the hardest style matchup for us, aren't they? I think they do. The way their sort of game plan functions is diametrically opposed to the way ours does, and I feel like we're more kind of kindred spirits with a Sunderland or an MK Dons. I think it's more of a kind of level tussle, whereas Wickham is all about being just spawny and dirty and pointy elbowed and etc., which is the bit of the game, that kind of needly bit of the game is the bit with the weakest at. I think we can football with just about everyone, but we can't have a wrestling match, a boxing match, etc.
Rich has also did often ask if he could do a bit of ghostwriting for me. And one of the ones was, "Yes, sir, we can football," wasn't it, Rich?
Yes, sir, we can football, but we need a certain pitch.
So it was interesting. I mean, the coverage, they did a little bit of wrap up and on the commentary, and John was going to the idea and saying, "Oh, you imagine it, seemed to think it would comfortably be MK Dons in that final as one of the teams." And I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what
I don't know.
It's certainly going to be. It's going to be very, very, very interesting going into that. Anyway, one thing I think we haven't done to cap off this so for the last time in the regular 2022 season, Luke and Rich of Different Gravy, not just another Sheffield Wednesday podcast, will pick their Mawam man of the match.
The Mawam man of the match. Ooh.
Who gave us something to chew on that was tasty and fruity from this game? I've got a pick, and I think it's a little bit left field this week.
Ooh.
I'm going to ask, who do you want to go with, Rich, first?
Do you know, just my gut feeling? I think I misappropriated and gave him an extra assist. So maybe if I kind of watched the match back, I wouldn't have this exact same feeling. But I think my gut feeling at the game was probably Byers. I think he kind of added momentum in some key moments. He broke things up really well at key moments. And then obviously he got himself an assist and a goal. So I think probably he'd be my pick, but I'm intrigued to hear your left field.
Well, I've gone with someone who got a goal and an assist. Someone else who got a goal and assist in this game, which maybe I'm also wondering if I should nesh out this decision now that you've given a very, very, very solid decision in Georgie Byers. And I don't know, I'm tempted to also say episode titles for this one could be "No, We Salute You, Georgie Byers." I'm going to go with Jordan's story because I think he was there.
Nice.
And he did it was a wonderful bit of really putting his body on the line for that assist with Berahino, which was a brilliant goal.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's a key moment as well. I mean, Byers' goal is a cherry on top. It's not a vitally important strike in the same way as Berahino's was.
Yep. And then Jordan's story had somehow the nous of a striker to get in. Much like that's another chant we've got work on in the wings, folks. Is instead of eye of a tiger, it's nous of a striker. And
nous of a striker. Lovely.
And we're also going to drop in the line about going to stick it up our rivals as well. But yeah, no, I thought there was two very big moments, and it was kind of like the advantage. It was, I don't know. I was going to say he was getting to juice and then getting to advantage and winning it. Maybe that was it. At that point, it was advantage Wednesday thanks to Story's great work from that setup for the Berahino goal, and then great bit of positioning. It's something that really it's just like I said at the moment, just kind of eluded me, and then kind of historically for maybe his one of his big mishaps midweek, kind of overlooked. But I think he deserves some kudos and did very well. So that's a good split. That's a good split. Byers was very good though, wasn't he?
He was very good, but I think Story was very good as well. So that's a good call both ways. But they can share the spoils. They can each have a bit of the boost duo that they win for being the Moam Different Gravy, not just another Sheffield Wednesday podcast man of the match. Don't eat it all at once. We always joke with the players when they get it.
They love that.
They laugh and laugh, don't they? They laugh and laugh.
They laugh and laugh. Especially Bailey. It's so funny.
Oh, Bailey. Oh, boys. That's so very funny. The very thought Oh wow! So there's the season goes on. We've got another match, and our podcast will awkwardly fall right in the middle of those two games. So we'll we'll have to think about what we do. So potentially it might be a week's wait for us to talk about the second leg. Or maybe we'll do something special. Who knows? But we'll certainly be back again this time next week and talk about the first leg away at the Stadium of Lights. And let's hope we do a little bit better than last time, because 6-0 would really feel like a big mountain to climb in that second leg. I'm not saying we couldn't do it, but I'd rather, if you're going to climb Everest, you'd really rather not start from a point of being like underground.
Yeah, that's very true.
Okay, well, I'm going to say cheerio, folks. Cheerio to you, Luke, and wish you the best for the week ahead.
Thanks, Rich. Have a good one, everyone.
Cheerio.
Bye. And there's been a goal at Goldsborough.